What up? What up? If you were looking at this face and listening to this voice, you were tuned into the best. This shit cheap. Let me not do that. You were looking at the best kept secret of sports talk. I'm your friendly neighborhood smoker. You are officially on the hot seat. And what we do on the hot seat? We set somebody's ass on fire. And like I told y'all last week, man, we were going to come back in here and talk about Florida State. So as you saw in the thumbnail, this is the state of the program address for the Florida State Seminoles. So without any further ado, man, paying homage to the ghost over my left and my right shoulder, you came for the gospel. And God damn it, the gospel is back. I'm going to give it to you. Ding, ding, classes in session. So last few years I've done what we call the state of the program address. And it was more so something I set up to have a conversation about where the program is, where it's going, and why it is in its current state. And last season I did this, I think around this time last year, probably in the month of August. I don't quite remember. But looking back on it, y'all were there. Shit, y'all saw. You all know how we were as a program. You all knew where Florida State stood. And it wasn't anything to brag about. The word of the day on that particular show was gloom, right? I think there was a dark cloud over Florida State. And if the worst was going, it wasn't necessarily if the worst could happen, it was when, right? Like there were freak instances that had preceded that particular show that produced the word gloom. And Florida State, I'm not going to say it was in a bad state. There was progression. I don't celebrate marginal success. I've said that consistently. But it just wasn't it definitely wasn't in the spot that it's in now. In Florida State, I'm not going to say Florida State is back, but Florida State is well on its way. And there are a certain number of people who deserve a tip of the hat, a salute, or a certain level of kudos for this. And if I can ridicule and chastise and speak down and blame Mike Norvell for a lot, I can praise him and give him his flowers in public as well. He preaches work. He preaches work ethic. He preaches the grind. I think it's called the climb, right? All of it sounds cliche. I think he does a great job with the media, making sure his answers are pointed. And I don't want to say there's a lot of gray area in his answers, but a lot of it sounds like it's been written down. But one thing we have come to find out over a period of time is it's true. I don't feel like he's BSing the public when he gives these speeches or he gives these answers to these questions in these interviews, or whenever he does a post game or a pregame, whatever the case may be.
Right. I mean, look, I'm pissed off that we're 0-4. Right. And we can bring up how many years it's been. I don't really I can't control that. I can control this team at this moment and right now with the opportunity. And so we're going to work our butts off to go get better. And we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to have a standard of how we operate. It's going to be the same standard that we're going to ask them to do in the classroom, the same standard of everything that we do. I'm going to hold myself to it because I got to be the example.
Mike Norvell, for the most part, is spot on. And his drive, his determination, his willingness to put in the work, we are now seeing the fruits of that labor now. For the past few years, if you've been a fan of this show and if you've seen a few episodes, you've heard me preach religiously. There are two things that are going to get Florida State back to where it needs to be. The first being buy-in from the admin and the boosters, and the second being recruiting. People, when you look at the buy-in or this level of buy-in from the admin and the boosters, this is what it looks like when Florida State pushes all its chips to the table and says, God damn it, I'm in. This is what it looks like. What team in the country at present moment is hotter than Florida State on the trail? Like, there are still the Alabamas of the world. There are still the Georgias of the world who are going to do what they're going to do, and they have invested a ton in recruiting in general, but in off-field staffs, things of that nature. Because when you think about off-field staff, when you think about the dedication to recruiting, to me, 4 programs come to mind off top: Clemson, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama, and it shows. Florida State is now putting their name in the hat. Like I told you all last year, when Florida State enters a recruiting battle for a kid, those programs now have to be worried. This is what it looks like when Florida State says, all right, enough is a fuck enough. Not making bowl games, winning 3 games, winning 5 games, winning 5 games a season. Those days are done. Florida State had to have somewhat of a cold dash of water. So I remember saying to you guys a few years ago, one of the worst things that could have happened to Florida State was winning that national title in 2013. The reason why I said that is because you look at what little Jimbo had to work with versus other programs. Other programs were starting to pick it up. Other programs were starting to invest a lot of resources in winning. If you're a fan of this program, you've heard me say at some point, now or later, you are going to have to pay to win. It was one of the biggest ruffles Jimbo had with the boosters and the admin. I need more resources. I need more resources. I need more resources. Well, when you win the national title and you beat a famed SEC program, do you really need all these bells and whistles that you're asking for? Well, Clemson is coming. Is Clemson really coming? Clemson came, they saw, and they fucking conquered. He understood where the trajectory of college football was going as it relates to resources, as it relates to support staff, as it relates to recruiting. And Florida State were behind the 8 ball and catching up. They particularly didn't want to, right? And you saw a steady decline from 2013 to 2014, so on and so forth. Well, it's kind of to the point now where Florida State has said, okay, my fault, my bad. We probably should have got ahead of this. We probably should have been proactive, but we were not. Well, goddamn it, we're here now. So let's go ahead and leave the past where it is. We're here now. In the rest of the college football world, you're in fucking trouble. I think that's what they're saying. And if that's what they're saying, whoo! Pray for times like this. I pray for times like this. If that's what Florida State is saying, then goddamn it, sign me up. Look at where the program is now. Look at what a year has done for this program. People, I touched on this last week. Look at the things that went wrong a year ago, before the season started, right? All we talked about, all we preached about was, can this team just get to 8 wins? God damn it, if we get to 8 wins, that's progress. We finna do some things. Florida State got to 10 wins. They beat the rivals. Well, y'all consider Clemson a rival? I do. Well, when was the last time we fucking beat Clemson? 2014, maybe? Yeah, I think that's the last time we beat Clemson, 2014. Damn, that's a long time. Shit. Okay. We'll talk about that next week. But we're beating rivals, most of them. You saw a vast improvement. You saw some type of player development. I don't give a damn if they were transferred or not. You saw player development. You saw a lot of people being put in the right positions to win. You saw a product that you could be proud of. You saw a product that shows you that the future of Florida State is bright. And like I've said, if I can be so hard on Mike Norvell prior to this season, prior to last season, he deserves his flowers now. And God damn it, it's time for us, myself included, to give it to him. What he's done, I don't want to call it remarkable, but I've always said you get paid to do a job. God damn it, do it. He is earning his paycheck. Like I said, next week we'll talk more about this, but I think FSU got it right. And they got it right in the climate in which it is very hard to get it right. You look at how much recycling of coaches there is in college football. You look at how many programs who have a proud history, who have good program prestige, and they can't get it right, or it's taking them a number of years to get it right. Florida State, because I've said this before, you don't want Florida State to turn into a Tennessee. You don't want Florida State to turn into a Texas, right? You have to make sure you get a grab, you hold on to the horns, where you get the grab of the horns quickly, and you stop the bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Florida State has done that, and they've done that. This is what winning does, people. Winning fixes everything. Winning cures all. Winning will make you forget about how ugly things had gotten for Florida State, how the program had deteriorated in front of our very eyes. One of the biggest issues Willie Taggart had is he didn't know how bad it was. The problem with that is that didn't curb our expectations. He didn't know how bad it was, so in return, he couldn't tell us like, hey, I understand what y'all want, but pump your brakes. I'm not saying that would have worked. I'm not saying it would have kept this job longer than 17 games. I'm telling you, I remember our expectations at that spring game. Had he known the program was in its worst shape as it was, we wouldn't have been so ready to move on, give up, be so critical. Well, Florida State is spoiled, so we probably were. I don't fucking know. But you look at how bad things have gotten and how Mike Norvell has come in. It's almost like Willie Taggart had to die on 1,000 swords for Mike Norvell to do what he's doing, right? He has had the opportunity to strip the entire roster down and build it back up. And I am front office guy. And what that means is some of you all are X's and O's guys. Some of you all are recruiting guys. Some of you all are just general fans, right? But I'm X's and O's. I'm front office guy, and what that means is I take a lot of pride in building a team, seeing how a team is built, seeing how a program is built, seeing how a franchise is built. I take a lot of pride in studying the intricate moving pieces that builds a winner. It's not to say I don't know about X's and O's. It's not to say I don't know about recruiting. It's not to say you don't either as a fan. I'm just telling you that one of the things I pay attention to is the infrastructure of a program. Looking back on things, when I kept saying we need buy-in, we need buy-in, we need buy-in, it was because I knew Florida State didn't have the resources to do what they wanted to do. With Mike Norvell being able to strip down this program and build it back up, he needed some resources, and he has them. This logo with these resources should be a cause for concern for every other goddamn team in the country. Because when the state is rolling, the state is rolling. When that logo is logoing, that logo is logoing. Florida State, and I'm pretty sure all programs want to say this shit, right? I'm pretty sure all programs believe this, but Florida State is a special place. It's a special place, and we've seen it be a special place. People gravitate towards it when they come there, right? When things are going well in Florida State, it's kind of hard to dampen the light. It's kind of hard to ignore what Florida State can be, and what we've ushered ourselves into right now is back into familiar territory. Their territory is expectations. So, if we're talking about the state of the program, I have a question for you. Do these expectations scare you, or are you embracing them? The reason why I think that question is important is because the answer tells you how well you believe in the stability of what Florida State currently has. If you're nervous about these expectations, then you don't think Florida State has really hit its stride. If you're nervous about these expectations, then it's only because you don't think Florida State can obtain them. They can't achieve whatever their goals are. If you see these expectations and you're excited about them, that tells me that you understand that everything Florida State has done in the past year is starting to come into fruition, and it's manifested itself into what we're going to see at the end of the season. If you're excited and you embrace these expectations, that tells me that you know that if Florida State has pushed all of their chips to the table, they bet on themselves, and they're going to cash in handsomely. And I'm going to tell you something about being nervous. I've always believed that nervous is for the unprepared. The people who aren't in the best position to succeed, those people should be nervous. I don't think that's Florida State. I believe that Florida State has done everything they need to do to make sure that these expectations are obtained and probably even exceeded. I'm not nervous at all about this season. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a lot of these kids being drafted. I'm looking forward to everything that we think is going to happen will happen. Because if there was a meter to where I could gauge how successful I believe Florida State is going to be, you're going to have to tune in next week to get that answer. Maybe even later on this week. I don't know. But whenever I record, hey man, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, hit that button. Make sure that when I drop, you get an alert. But whatever I believe, we'll discuss next week. But I'm not afraid to tell you that I do expect great things out of this football team. I also expect that this season is going to breed. Listen, do y'all have any idea what a very successful season could do for this program moving forward? Just think about that for a second. Let's say Florida State goes 11-1. I'm not even talking bowl game. Let's just say Florida State finishes the season 11-1. You have any idea the momentum it would have going into next season? Just with a college football playoff appearance, let alone winning anything, right? But an appearance. Now you can show proof of concept. Even for the people who are still on the fence. Now you can show proof of concept. We've climbed. See that? See what I did there? Climbed. We've climbed every season. So if you like this season, shit, next season is just going to be even better. Right? This is what you can sell. You know who else you can sell that shit to? The recruits. We put kids in the NFL. We have primetime game after primetime game. Florida State has at least 3 rival games. You're going to be on TV, and we can show player development. We can show proof of concept in people. That is vastly important to what you're trying to do, especially what you're trying to sell to kids. Because if you can show proof of concept, if you can show player development, those players are more likely to stay than they are to transfer. You're going to get your transfers. You're going to get your decommits. It's just the name of the game. You part of what they have to do is manage attrition. But I'm telling you that if I can see the vision, like they've shown that they've slapped me in the fucking face with the vision, you'll be able to explain to the kid that no matter what the depth chart looks like, we're going to put you in the best position to get you where you want to be. That's golden in recruiting. That's something we don't see regularly anymore because those kids were forced to stay. Now, you look at the quarterback situation, right? One thing I do know about Mike Norvell, quarterbacks love his ass. He's going to have his hands full keeping all these quarterbacks at Florida State, the ones that are committed and the ones that are currently on the roster. When you're able to see what Jordan Travis is doing, whether he wins the Heisman this season or not, I expect big things out of the kid. As a quarterback, why wouldn't you want to come there? Look at the run of quarterbacks Clemson had. It's because they were able to show something. Look at the run. God damn, Lincoln Riley is a quarterback's dream. Those quarterbacks get wet when they think about Lincoln Riley. It's because he's been able to show I produce first overall draft picks. I produce Heisman winners, right? They'll probably sit a year or two if it means I'm going to be able to be the number 1 overall pick. I'm willing to sit a year or two if you can tell me that I'll be a Heisman candidate or a Heisman Trophy winner, right? These are the type of things that Florida State is doing. They explain to me, if Florida State hasn't pushed all their chips to the table, if Florida State isn't as committed of a program as you've seen, explain to me how the hell Keon Coleman came knowing Johnny Wilson was on the other side of the goddamn field. Explain to me why a kid that had visited Georgia 11 goddamn times committed to Florida State. If these things aren't true, Florida State had 100 goddamn offensive linemen transfer in. Explain to me why in the hell Florida State got Braden Fisk and Darrell Jackson to come to Florida State. Right? These things are inexplicable to a small degree, but inexplicable nonetheless. This is what happens when you are committed to winning. And I cannot stress this enough. The state of the program right now is bliss. It is a good time to be a Florida State fan because all the things that we wanted in the past few years, we're looking at them right now. We're winning these major recruiting battles. We're looking at the fact that the admin and the booster have finally bought in, and they're doing what it takes to make sure Florida State is mentioned with the elite of the elite. That's why these expectations don't bother me any. Don't run from them. Bring them to me. Because Florida State is going to beat the shit out of some of these teams this season. Because what y'all was telling me, what Bobby said, first year, lose by a lot. Second year, lose by a little. Third year, win by a little. What year is this? That's exactly what the hell I'm expecting, to be beating the shit out of some of these goddamn teams. You should be expecting the same thing. It's all the time I'm giving you. It's all the time I got. Look for me on Twitter at the Hot Seat 19. Look for me on Instagram at the Hot Seat 19. Please, please, please share, like, and if you, when I say share, if you think you know people who like this type of content, send it to them, man. Make sure they subscribe. Please leave all the comments you can under there. I try to get to y'all the best way I can. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everybody checking on me, making sure I was straight. Also, I don't know when I'm going to drop the next video. It may be later on this week. It may be at the top of next week. I'm not quite sure, but it'll be more so of a season preview. It's probably going to be a longer video than what we've had, but I feel as it relates to the team, there's a lot to discuss, a lot of positive things. It feels good to say, people. Y'all don't understand that. It feels good to say a lot of positive things to discuss, just more so what my expectations are of the team and where I think the team can go just as it relates to what's on the field. But again, I appreciate it. If you give me your time, I cannot tell you how much that means to me. So again, from the bottom, top of the middle of my heart, I appreciate y'all. You are officially off the hot seat. Y'all be good.